Democracy, as originally conceived, cannot survive big tech as currently empowered. Because if these companies all support the same candidate, they will have the power to shift 15 million votes to that candidate. To let big tech get away with subliminal manipulation on this scale would be to make the free and fair election meaningless. In 1961, Eisenhower warned about the possible rise of a technological elite that would control public policy without people's awareness. That elite now exists, and you must determine where we go from here.
Whew. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Auntie speaks. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me get out to more people. It helps the algorithm. Not like it's going to matter because I'm sure I'm going to be banned after this video. Anyways, okay. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about Google, who owns YouTube. So I'm sure this might be my last video. It's been great, everybody. I've enjoyed talking to all of you, but this is probably sayonara. So who is this? This is Dr. Robert Epstein. No, not that Epstein, a completely different Epstein. And what is this? Well, this gentleman has been researching Google for a very, very long time. He has a doctorate from Harvard and he's done a bunch of news articles, but he really sort of splashed onto the page in 2016 when he did a talk to Congress. Testimony to Congress. And this gentleman has an organization called the American Institute for Behavioral Research and Technology. And when he did his testimony, it was rather a bombshell. What is he talking about? He is talking about Google the most, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, silently influencing people. Now, this is not conspiracy theory. Advertising agencies have been doing this for years. They go down to literally what color will attract which sex. What advertising agencies know about you is crazy. But that is nothing compared to what Google can do.
Some of my research has focused on Google, on the company's massive surveillance operations, censorship capabilities, and unprecedented ability to manipulate the thinking of 2.5 billion people, soon to be 4+ billion. In 2016, Google's search algorithm likely impacted undecided voters in a way that shifted at least 2.6 million votes to Hillary Clinton, whom I supported. I know this because I preserved more than 13,000 election-related searches prior to Election Day, and Google's search results were significantly biased in favor of Secretary Clinton. I know the number of votes that shifted because I've conducted dozens of controlled experiments that measure how opinions shift when search results are biased. Biased search results can easily produce shifts in the opinions and voting preferences of undecided voters by up to 80% in some demographic groups because people blindly trust high-ranking search results over lower ones. SEAM is an especially dangerous form of influence because it is, in effect, subliminal. It also leaves no paper trail for authorities to trace. It's an example of a short-lived or, quote, ephemeral experience. That's a phrase you'll find in internal emails that have leaked recently from Google. Number 2, on Election Day in 2018, the Go Vote reminder that Google displayed on its home page gave one political party at least 800,000 more votes than it gave the other party. That reminder was not a public service. It was a vote manipulation.
Okay, Susan, you can't go after me. That was 2016. He's testifying about 2016, okay? So why am I putting this up now? This testimony, I think, was in 2017. Well, because there is a new election coming around, so he has been doing a lot of tracking. So here is a news report from U.S. News and World Report. And this is from our lovely Dr. Epstein. So Google Inc. isn't just the world's biggest purveyor of information, it is also the world's biggest censor. The company maintains at least 9 different blacklists that impact our lives, generally without input or authority from any outside advisory group, industry associations, or government agencies. Google is not the only company suppressing content on the internet. Reddit has frequently been accused of banning postings on specific topics, and a recent report suggests that Facebook has been deleting conservative news stories from its newsfeed, a practice that might have significant effect on public opinion, even voting. Google, though, is currently the biggest bully on the block. When Google employees or algorithms decide to block our access to information about a news item, political candidates or businesses, opinions and votes can shift. Reputations can be ruined and businesses can crash and burn because online censorship is entirely unregulated at the moment. Victims have little or no recourse when they have been harmed. Eventually, authorities will almost certainly have to step in, just as they did when credit bureaus were regulated in the 1970s. The alternative would be to allow a large corporation to wield an especially destructive kind of power that should be exercised with great restraint. Yeah, like they're exercised with great restraint, and should belong only to the public, the power to shame or exclude. Yes, that's what we used to use. The internet was completely wide open before Trump threw his hat into the ring and everybody got super, super scared about what people said on the internet. Sunlight is wonderful. It shows sunlight on crazy people, and then the truth bubbles up to the surface. If Google were just another mom and pop shop with a sign saying, "We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone," that would be one thing. But as the golden gateway to all knowledge, Google has rapidly become an essential in people's lives, nearly as essential as air and water. That's right. If you don't have access to the internet, do you have access to information? When I was a kid, we had 3 channels. That's not the way it is anymore. Dr. Epstein also went on Dennis Prager, and as you know, I love Dennis Prager. So please go to Pragertopia. That's where this is from. So if you go to Pragertopia, you can subscribe to Pragertopia for like $5 a month. It's nothing, and you can get all of his shows. So here, let's listen to Dr. Epstein on Dennis Prager.
Again, Google, being the most dangerous of them, actually deliberately use these techniques on a large scale, and in so doing, they can easily shift the outcomes of any close election with no one knowing that they're doing it and without leaving a paper trail for authorities to trace. So that's in a nutshell what the danger is. Since 2016, I've been developing systems to do to them what they do to us and our kids, that is to track them and actually to track and preserve and analyze the content that they're sending to voters, and therefore proving beyond any doubt that they're actually using these techniques. I calculated in 2020 that they shifted more than 6 million votes to my people, to to Joe Biden and Democrats. 2022, we're monitoring again on an even larger scale, and we're planning by the end of 2023 to have in place a large-scale permanent monitoring system that will force the tech companies to stay away from our elections permanently and to stay away from our kids.
Do you believe, or are you agnostic, or do you dissent from the idea, given what you said about 6 million votes or 6 million people, do you believe that without big tech manipulating search results, that Joe Biden would have been elected?
I am cutting this off right there. I am shocked. I am absolutely shocked that someone would even suggest something like that, Dennis Prager. That is terrible. Susan, this was not me. I cut it out. I cut it off. I do not know what his answer was. I plugged my ears, and I cannot believe anybody would even make such a suggestion. That was disgusting.
But if the tech platforms themselves, if Google, if Facebook, if they want to support one candidate or one cause or one party, guess what? There's nothing you can do. There's no way to counteract what they're doing. If, for example, the RNC right now is considering suing Google because they have evidence that Google has been suppressing tens of millions of emails that the RNC is sending to voters. Well, how would you prove that? Well, again, I've developed monitoring systems that would capture that kind of phenomenon. But that's an example of a kind of manipulation that you can't fight. How would you fight that? If Google itself wants to suppress emails, Google itself wants to send out go vote reminders just to members of one party, you wouldn't even know it's happening. And how could you counteract it? Well, again, the way you counteract it is to detect it as it is occurring through aggressive monitoring.
Why is Google doing this? I am not a conspiracy nut. I have a family member who goes there sometimes, and I look at him and I'm like, I can hear the black helicopter circling. So I'm not a conspiracy nut. Why would Google do something like this?
And their values, they of course they want to change the world, and one of the leaks from Google not long ago was an 8-minute video, never meant to be seen outside that company, in which they're talking about Google's ability to re-engineer humanity according to, and I quote, company values. Well, right now we have a lot of field agents in place, and we're monitoring content being sent to voters. We're mainly in the swing states because that's where the manipulations are most likely. So, starting next week, we are going to announce publicly our preliminary findings, and where we find evidence of bias or manipulation or suppression of content, we are going to start announcing it publicly. When we did this at the end of 2020, something remarkable happened. 3 U.S. senators, led by Ted Cruz, sent a very threatening letter to the CEO of Google, 2 pages long, summarizing our preliminary data. That they sent that letter on November 5th, 2020, and as a result, Google immediately stopped their manipulations in the Georgia Senate races. And Google literally turned off all of their manipulations.
Okay, guys. So, the sunlight is the best disinfectant. Google, YouTube, only does what we as a people allow them to do. And Dr. Epstein has been doing the lion's share of work. But you need to go out there and you need to push this issue with your congressmen or senators. And I'm talking about Democrats and Republicans. Democrats, I know you believe that someone like Google, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter will always be on your side, but you don't know that. What if tomorrow they come up with some kooky idea and they wanna spread it to the masses? This is basically manipulation of the population. This is what communist countries used to do by controlling all forms of the press. And this is why when Sam Harris came out with his idiotic interview on trigonometry, I reacted so viscerally because he was basically promoting censorship because he didn't like someone. I understand Democrats. I understand you don't like Trump. But this stuff is pretty darn serious. So Google, I love you, YouTube. I do. I watch you all the time. But I got to tell you, suggested results, can't find them. I never get suggested anybody. And that's why in every video, I sort of try to highlight some of my favorites because we're not suggested people that we like anymore. It's very difficult to find conservative commentators. So guys, please like, comment, and share. The elections are just around the corner. We need to get this out here. And once the elections are done, this needs to be something that is on the docket. Big tech engines should not be able to manipulate the public. They are a public square. They are there to disseminate information. Okay? So thanks, guys. I love you. I'll see you in the next one.